Let us see topic 1.14, that is Gauss's law. This law was given by Carl Friedrich Gauss in something 1835. It's a very important law because by this law we are going to derive equations of electric field of symmetrical objects, as well as this will be useful for many of the numericals that we are going to see further. Let us see. Gauss law establishes a relation between the net flux phi and the net charge q, which is enclosed by a closed surface. This closed surface is known as Gaussian surface. See, this law is particularly for a closed surface which is enclosing some charge. Let us say if this is charge q and here is a closed surface, then only this Gaussian law is applicable, and this closed surface is known as Gaussian surface. So as I said, it is giving a relation between net flux phi and charge q. So this relation is flux phi is equal to q upon epsilon 0. We are going to derive this equation, or we are going to give a proof of this equation later on. Right now flux phi is equal to q upon epsilon 0, but we already know that flux phi is also closed integration of E dot ds. So comparing these two equations, we can get flux phi is equal to closed integration E dot ds is equal to q upon epsilon 0. This part of the equation will be further very much useful. Remember this. The definition is like this. The total electric flux enclosed inside a closed surface is 1 by epsilon times the charge enclosed within the surface. I repeat, total electric flux, this is flux phi, enclosed inside the closed surface is 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed within the surface. It is 1 by epsilon times of the charge, that means q by epsilon 0. So flux phi is q by epsilon 0. Mind well, here we have considered that nearby this charge there is vacuum, or let us say air. That's why we have put here epsilon 0. But if this charge is kept inside some, let us say oil or some sort of other medium, then obviously you have to put here epsilon. That means the permittivity of that particular medium. Now let us see the proof of this law. Consider a charge q enclosed by the sphere of radius r. Here you can see this is a charge q and here is a sphere of radius r. Let this charge q be at the center O of the sphere. Obviously here the charge is kept at the center of the sphere. Consider a small area element ds at point P on the surface. Now here is a spherical surface as a whole. On that you have to consider this small area element, that is ds. Electric field E and the area ds are in the same direction at this point P. Obviously this is a positive charge q. So the electric field at this point P will be like this, radially outside. As well as this is a small area element, and we know the area vector ds, here this vector ds will be perpendicular to the area at that particular point. That's why the vector E and the vector ds both will be in the same direction. That is said here that electric field E vector and the area ds vector will be in the same direction. Now the electric field at this point P, this is point P, here is the charge q and here is the distance r. So at this point P, the electric field will be E is equal to q upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r square caret r. Here this caret r is the unit vector in the direction of electric field. So the electric flux through the area element ds is d phi is equal to E dot ds. We are using the equation of flux, and because this is a small area element and the electric field is E and the area vector of this element is ds, so the small flux d phi can be written as dot product of E and ds. So it is E dot ds. But as we said, E is q upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r square caret r dot ds. But now the unit vector caret r and the area vector ds both are in the same direction. That's why we can now further write this equation as d phi is equal to q upon 4 pi epsilon 0 ds only, because this dot product will become just ds. Therefore, now the total flux phi through the entire closed surface can be sought out by the integration of all the d phi's. That means the total flux phi will be equal to surface integration of d phi. Now when we take surface integration of d phi, obviously you have to take surface integration of this term. So it is q upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r square surface integration on the closed surface ds. But surface integration on the closed surface of ds will be obviously equal to 4 pi r square, because when you take surface integration of surface ds, that means you are adding all the small ds. That will give you the total area of this whole closed surface, and that total area is 4 pi r square. So that equation will become now phi is equal to q upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r square and 4 pi r square. Here this 4 pi r square and this 4 pi r square will be cancelled out. So the remaining term is q upon epsilon 0. So here is a proof that for this closed surface you are getting phi is equal to q upon epsilon 0. Now see these notes about Gauss law. If the charge q is positive, then the electric field is towards outside, obviously, and so the flux will be positive. That means flux phi will be greater than 0. Here you can see this is a positive charge and here is the Gaussian surface. So the electric field will be radially outside. In this case, the flux equation, flux phi is equal to q upon epsilon 0, will give you positive flux. The flux will be positive, greater than 0. But if you take the charge to be negative, then the electric field is inside and so the flux will be negative. Here is the negative charge q, so the electric field lines are coming inside, and in this situation when we use the equation phi is equal to q by epsilon 0, you have to put minus q, and that's why the flux will be negative. So flux phi will be less than 0. Next thing, net flux through a closed surface kept in external field is always 0. Mind well, when you place any closed surface in external field, then the total flux is 0. For example, here this is a uniform electric field and in which we have kept a cylindrical shape or say cylindrical Gaussian surface. In this case, what will happen? On this surface, the electric fields are going from outside to inside, and on this surface, electric field lines are going from inside to outside. That's why the flux phi 1 linked with this surface of area S can be written as phi 1 is equal to minus ES. Obviously, when the electric field lines are going from outside to inside, as we have seen here, the electric field lines are going from outside to inside, so the flux was negative. When the electric field lines are going from inside to outside, the flux is positive. So in that case, here the electric field lines are going from outside to inside. That's why the flux link with that surface will be phi 1 is equal to minus ES. Whereas for this surface, the electric field lines are coming inside to outside, and so the flux will be phi 3 is equal to plus ES. Now the cylindrical surface, here this is the cylindrical surface. For that, if the flux is phi 2, then phi 2 will be just 0. Reason? That from this cylindrical surface, no electric field lines are passing. When electric field line is not passing, then obviously the flux will be 0. In other way, I can say that if I choose a small area element, let us say ds, then the area vector of ds will be upside and the electric field is in this direction. So obviously the angle between electric field and ds will be 90. And when you put the flux equation E dot ds, then it becomes E ds cos 90. Cos 90 is 0, and so the flux will be 0. So as a whole, flux on the cylindrical surface will be 0. Now if we add all of this flux, then obviously the total net flux will be phi1 plus phi2 plus phi3 and will become 0. So remember this case, whenever we place any closed surface of any shape, here we have taken a cylindrical shape, but if you take any other shape as well, in external electric field, then the flux will be 0. Also mind well one more thing, here I have chosen a uniform electric field, but if the electric field is even non-uniform, then also the total flux linked with the closed surface by external field will be always 0. Now let us see some important points for Gaussian law. First, Gauss law is true for any closed surface of any shape and any size. You can take any type of closed surface of any shape and any size for applying Gaussian law. Next, the term Q is the total sum of all the charges located anywhere inside the closed surface. See, in the equation of flux given by Gauss law, we are using Q by epsilon 0. So this Q is the total sum of all the charges located anywhere inside the closed surface. For example, here are few charges and this is the closed surface. Then that charge can be anywhere. You have to put the sum of all these charges at the place of Q. Next, in a situation when there are some charges inside and some charges outside the closed surface, the electric field E in this equation, the electric field E is the vector sum of all the electric field due to the charges inside as well as outside the closed surface. However, the charge Q is the sum of charges inside the closed surface only. Let me clarify this. In this equation, the term E, that is the electric field, is the vector sum of all the electric fields produced by all the charges, whether it is outside the surface or inside the surface. It's a total vector sum of all the electric fields due to all the charges. But the term Q is the sum of charges only inside the surface. So while applying this equation anywhere, we have to remember this thing. Next, the surface that we choose for the application of Gauss's law is called as Gaussian surface. See, when we apply Gauss's law, we can imagine even any surface which is known as Gaussian surface. See, Gaussian surface can be imaginary as well. You can imagine Gaussian surface, means it should be a closed surface and the charge should be enclosed by this surface. Then it is called as Gaussian surface. Next, do not let the Gaussian surface pass through any discrete charge, because electric field due to a discrete charge is not well defined at the very location of the charge. Let me explain this. See, while choosing Gaussian surface, you should take care that this Gaussian surface should not pass through any discrete charge, because at the very location of that discrete charge, the electric field is not well defined. For example, here is a proton. Now, if I pass any Gaussian surface through this proton, if I assume like this, then at the very point of this proton, the electric field is not well defined, because as per the equation of electric field, E is proportional to 1 upon r square. So when you are choosing the point very near to the proton, equationally the electric field will be infinite. So we cannot define that electric field, and so we cannot apply this Gaussian law. So you have to take care while applying Gauss law or while choosing the Gaussian surface, that Gaussian surface should not be passing through the discrete charges. However, the Gaussian surface can pass through a continuous charge distribution. That's not an issue. If you take a continuous charge distribution, then it becomes a macroscopic thing. So, for a continuous charge distribution, you can choose a Gaussian surface passing through that continuous charge system. Next, Gauss's law is often useful for the calculation of electric field when the charge system has symmetry. After this topic, we are going to see application of Gaussian law, in which we will find electric field of a system which is having some symmetry. Let us say some charge wire, some charge sphere, and so on. So, this Gauss's law is often useful for calculation of electric field when the system is having some sort of symmetry. Next, Gauss's law is based on the inverse square dependence of distance. We know that electric field is inversely proportional to the distance square, which is known as inverse square law. So, Gauss law is based on the inverse square dependence of distance. Obviously, in Gaussian equation, the left term is integration E dot ds. So, there electric field comes, and so the Gauss law is based on the inverse square dependence of the distance.